That, my friends, was the win of the season. The Boston Celtics take down the Oklahoma City Thunder, the reigning champs, 119-109. Jayson Tatum has his best game since coming back on both ends of the floor. Jaylen Brown continues to put himself in the MVP conversation, despite what SGA, Luka, Wemby, Jokic, you name it, those guys are doing. Jaylen Brown has carried this team night after night. And then, for the first time in what feels like a while, you get fantastic production from Baylor Scheierman, from Payton Pritchard off of the bench. For Scheierman, it was step-back threes, sidestep threes, off of the dribble, on Chet Holmgren, on SGA in that third and fourth quarters, opening the lead up for the Celtics. For Payton Pritchard, it was 40 feet bombs. You don't want to guard me out there? I'll knock them down. Come out and guard me. Payton Pritchard was fantastic in this game. But it all starts with the two guys that you mentioned at the top. It's Jaylen Brown. It's Jayson Tatum. It's a two-man show. It's the best duo in the league. And I'll start with Jayson Tatum, and then we'll get to what Jaylen Brown did. Because we all know Jayson Tatum is the facilitator, the brains behind the offense when he has the ball. Jaylen Brown's the finisher, the athleticism, the game changer with some of those dunks that he had. But Jayson Tatum, we've been saying this, his shooting doesn't look great. His athleticism is almost all the way back, but that last little step he's been struggling with. And what does he do? He comes out, he shoots 5 of 12, but 3 of 6 from 3, 6 of 6 at the line, 12 rebounds, 7 assists, double-double, almost a triple-double. And he was fantastic on the defensive boards late in the game. Closed out OKC's chances of making a comeback just by single-handedly grabbing some massive one-handed rebounds over a guy like Chet Holmgren, Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, who was out there. The Boston Celtics, for the first time this season with Jayson Tatum, did what we all know they needed to do to be the best defensive team. They went small with Jayson Tatum at the 5. He finally has enough of a rhythm, finally has enough of his feet back under him to play 35 minutes, a season high, and he looked just unbelievable. What he was able to do, the shooting, but it's not just that. It's the drives, the euros, the coming around screens, playing fantastic defense. Got a huge block when he had to chase out of the corner, and I think it was Lou Dort he had that on, where Lou Dort beats Derek White on one side, and Jayson Tatum sprints from the other side and blocks it midair. Just fantastic athleticism from him. Jayson Tatum, if we can get a Jayson Tatum like this, the Boston Celtics are championship contenders without a doubt. You just beat the reigning champs with both teams having a full roster. And you can look at what OKC did, right? They shot 32% from 3, 12 of 37. But they made their open shots. They were covered. And interesting enough, the OKC Thunder went with 2 different strategies. The strategy worked somewhat in the first half, but Mark Daigneault thought it didn't work, and he changes it up in the first half, and it works, or in the second half, and it works even less. And that was, in the first half, they forced Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum to give the ball up. They sent 2, even 3 people every single time Jayson Tatum or Jaylen Brown had the ball. And Sam Hauser couldn't get his shots to fall. He went in this game 3 of 9, 3 of 8 from 3, right? So he was really struggling in the first half. Other guys, Payton Pritchard struggled a tiny bit. Derek White struggled a little bit. It really worked for the Thunder. They were able to hold the Celtics at bay. The Celtics couldn't get anything going. The Celtics stayed in the game with their defense on the Thunder side. But then in that second half, the Thunder stopped doing that. They play one-on-one with Jaylen Brown. They play one-on-one with Jayson Tatum. And sometimes they even they sent two at Jayson Tatum, but Jayson Tatum is much better at making the right reads. He had great plays to Luka Garza, Nemias Queta under the basket when the Thunder sent two of him. Wide open dunks or layups from that, gravity that Jayson Tatum pulls every time he's on the floor. You cannot double Jayson Tatum anymore. You used to be able to. Jayson Tatum has turned into a great passer, right? Averaging, since he's come back, right, he's obviously focused on the assists and playmaking as his shooting hasn't been great. But just over the last couple of years, he's really become one of the best passers in the NBA. But back to the defense from OKC, right? Jaylen Brown, right? He might struggle a little bit with those double teams occasionally because he's not as good of that, that sort of court screener. But you put one guy on Jaylen Brown, there's nobody big enough in the NBA to guard Jaylen Brown. Yes, he picks up some offensive fouls. Again, just poor officiating on the Thunder. I mean, every time. I'm not going to complain about fouls and whatever. Every team does it. That's just how it's going to be. You're the champs. You get the benefit of the doubt. Just really frustrating at times, though, some of the stuff that was called or not called in this game. On both sides for sure, but definitely stuff that needs to be figured out next season. Anyway, I digress on that point. Jaylen Brown, moving on to Jaylen Brown. You put one guy on Jaylen Brown, he is getting to the basket, period. Jaylen Brown cannot be stopped in a one-on-one matchup. Lu Dort couldn't even do that. One of the best defenders and one of the bigger defenders in the NBA. Lu Dort should be playing football with some of the moves that he makes out there, trying to trip guys and whatever. I don't care about that. Jaylen Brown is an all-NBA first-team player. Sure, MVP's locked up by SJ, whatever. Put him on first team. I don't even care if Cade Cunningham doesn't make the all-NBA squad because he doesn't play enough games. That's a different conversation. That's a stupid thing. He should be eligible. There should be a way for media or whoever's voting to have a way to sort of waive players from that or sort of make an exception for those players. Whatever. Jaylen Brown is still the fifth best player in the NBA this season, without a doubt. I don't know who else you can put there. Anthony Edwards has his Minnesota Timberwolves in 6. Kawhi Leonard, still a play-in team. Cade Cunningham, the Pistons are winning without him, so clearly he's not the main star on that team. But Jaylen Brown in this game just went to work. He scored, as I mentioned at the top of the show, 31 points on 9 of 17 from the field. Only took 3 shots from 3, made 1 of 3. That's just fine. 12 of 14 from the line. What is he? I think in his last, I think I wrote this down and they said this on the broadcast. But in his last, 82 shots or something, he's 75 for 82. That's over 90% after being a career 75% free throw shooter. He has figured it out from the line, especially because he's getting to the line more. He leads the league in drives, followed by SGA. He is starting to get some of those calls, and he's making teams pay for it. The Celtics were able to get the Thunder in the bonus in the third and fourth quarters, pretty much with 6 minutes to go. With over half of the quarter to go, the Thunder were in the bonus. The Celtics took advantage of just a team that thought they were good enough defensively, and they are. But I'm not going to say they caught them sleeping, but the Thunder were not ready for the energy and the emotions that the Celtics and the crowd were ready to bring in a game that mattered so much for the Celtics. And yes, for the Thunder, but not as much, right? The Celtics are trying to stay in second place in the East in a very tight race between them and the Knicks. The Knicks hold the tiebreaker pretty much. The Celtics have one more game with the Knicks, but that would tie them for 2-2 on the season. And the Knicks have a better, I believe, conference record because they played that play-in game, or maybe it's division record, whatever comes first. But they played that, not play-in, the in-season tournament against the Raptors, so that gives them an extra game up. They played an extra game this season, so there's nothing you can do there. The Celtics have no choice but to win a full game more than the Knicks, and this win just is tremendous in that, because the Celtics have a tough schedule down the stretch of the season, especially with how well the Hawks are playing, and they play the Hawks at next, I believe, for multiple games. But that being said, you just played the hardest game of the season, and you got through it with a win. Nobody's injured. Jayson Tatum looked the best he's ever looked this season while playing the toughest defensive team he's ever looked. There's a reason they held him out in that first game. He wasn't ready, but he looks ready now. And the athleticism, he finished around the rim, through contact, got fouls, made his first technical free throw of the season when, funny enough, the Thunder already had one tech for a delay of game earlier in the game, and Hartenstein takes too long taking off his heat wrap and gets another delay of game. 2 delay of games, a technical shot, just a hilarious situation, and just showcases just how locked in the Celtics were, right? The Thunder made some sloppy mistakes. Joe Mazzulla had some great coaching down the stretch with some timeout usage to get the Celtics out of some tough situations offensively. When the offense sort of started to stutter and fall apart, Joe Mazzulla was quick to see it and on it, and he called timeouts. Just a display of Joe Mazzulla and why he's the coach of the year, a display of Jaylen Brown and why he's a top player in the NBA this season, and just continued approval of what Jayson Tatum has been able to do this season. Right? And funny enough, right, we talked about how the Celtics went small. Neemias Queta was in foul trouble, had 5 fouls. He was able to come back out for the last minute and a half and played sort of spots in the third and fourth when he had 5 fouls. Credit to him to not get that 6th foul. You saw that the Celtics were hesitant to do some of those screens, sort of pick and roll or sort of, screen assists with Jayson Tatum, because he was cooking coming around screens and either shooting or getting into the paint, finding guys. That was his bread and butter tonight. But the Celtics were hesitant to do that down the stretch of the game because they were worried about Queta possibly picking up a cheap foul on a moving screen or just a offensive foul that could just really hurt them. So you saw that hesitancy from Joe Mazzulla to call those types of plays, from Jayson Tatum to call those plays for Queta, and that offense went cold in that middle part of the fourth quarter. But what does Joe Mazzulla do? He calls timeouts, he settles it down, and the Celtics are able to hold on to the best win of the season. Other guys, we talked briefly about Baylor Scheierman, but credit to him to be a guy in his second year come down and just knock down big shots after big shots from all over the three-point line, right? He can handle the ball, dribble. That's a great use against a team like the Thunder, who you're going to need lots of guys to handle the ball when teams throw trap, or when the Thunder throw traps at White, Tatum, Brown. You need another guy who can handle the ball. He does that with limited turnovers, right? But then the ability to shoot from one corner, shoot from another corner, shoot from the top of the three, shoot on the move. A guy that, who knows what we were going to get out of him after last season. And he has cemented his spot next season and seasons beyond on this team as just a fantastic role player. And we'll see how much he plays in the playoffs, but I have confidence that he can make a difference in the playoffs for the Celtics. And I want to wrap up by saying that the NBA just approved the expansion, right? The way it's going to work most likely is you're going to be able to protect, at least this is how it worked when the NBA did it last, is they can protect 8 players. We'll see if that number goes up or not. But who do you protect on this team? Baylor Scheierman and Hugo Gonzalez. And I know Hugo Gonzalez didn't have a much of an impact in this game specifically, besides a couple of plays. But he cemented his spot as one of those 8. That's Baylor Scheierman. There are a lot of guys on this team right now in that 5 through 11 spots that are making a difference on the team. A team that the Celtics historically, right, those young role players, young players trying to develop in the league haven't had much of an opportunity because they've been playing their vets. They've been a championship-focused team, right? We saw Neesmith, right? He wasn't able to get the minutes that he needed and go somewhere else and thrives. Obviously, Payton Pritchard was thinking about doing that. There are a lot of guys like that that haven't been able to develop here because of the championship aspirations of the Celtics. But now you're seeing both. It's been just a great year for the Celtics coaching staff. Sam Cassell, my guess is he's going to have an NBA job at the end of the season. Lots of guys just basically showcasing why the Boston Celtics are the best organization in the NBA. But I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you guys once again on a truly fantastic performance from the Boston Celtics, winning 119-109 against the OKC Thunder. SJ, he scores 31, but who cares? He's not going to beat you alone. It's when he's making plays for others. But the Celtics were able to limit that and hold him to just 31 points. You'll take that every single night. We will be back on, I believe it is Friday that the Boston Celtics play, if I am not mistaken, against the Atlanta Hawks. I think, is this the home game first? Yes, home at 7:30. So we will try and be live for that game Friday night after the game. So tune in for that. We will have a podcast episode coming Monday after the Boston Celtics take on the, is it Hawks back-to-back? No, the Charlotte Hornets, who they lost badly to when they came to town. So we'll have a podcast episode Monday on that. We'll have a reaction to that game as well. And, guys, I know we were a little worried after the Wolves game, after the Grizzlies game. The Boston Celtics are right back to where they need to be.